Hey, what's going on, guys? Felix here from Podcasting Secrets and the Shopify Masters podcast. They want to talk to you about this question of should you go on YouTube or should you go on podcasting? Like, what is the right platform for you to use when you are trying to put out content out there? So for a long time, I've always debated that. Like, oh man, should this piece of content go on Instagram? Should this piece of content go on Facebook? Should I go on a Facebook group? Should I put it on YouTube? Should I put it on Instagram Live? Should I put it out as a podcast? And the reason why I started thinking about this was because I wanted to make sure that the right content goes into the right place. Like, where is it going to have the most, quote unquote, most impact? Like, which platform should I spend time creating content for? And what I realized was when I was doing that was actually I was slowing down my content creation because I was spending so much time trying to be perfect about what kind of content goes where and what kind of content shouldn't go where, like where would have the most impact. That I was spending so much time thinking about this rather than actually creating the content itself. And I think a big part of the reason that I was doing that was not only because I wanted to make sure I had the best impact, was also because I think it was an excuse for myself to stop myself from actually going out there and putting out content, right? I was spending time saying to myself, oh, I have to be putting on the right place, otherwise don't do it at all. And like started using this as an excuse not to produce content, not to produce episodes, whether that be on YouTube or Instagram or where. I saw a really interesting post that I haven't got a chance to dive too into yet, but I've seen Gary Vee talk about this all the time, which is about repurposing. So I'm really good friends with one of the people that works over there with him, and what he does, which he reveals in a recent post that he put out there, was to create big pieces of content and then chop it up into micro content. So the point of that is that he basically spends a lot of time repurposing content. And I was always against that at first because I was thinking to myself, like, man, people could think I'm a fraud. They think I'm a fakester because I'm putting out the same content on multiple places, or I'm creating different spins of specific types of content. Maybe I talk about the same thing over and over again. I started thinking this fear in the back of my head that I shouldn't do that. And again, it was another excuse for me just to stop creating content. But the interesting thing is that I think we as creators, people that are creating podcasts, creating episodes, creating anything out there, putting out there, we get tired of our own stuff way, way, way faster than anyone else out there because we're surrounded by so much. Not only when we spend time creating content like I'm doing right now on Instagram Live, but because we live with it inside our head. We live with the content inside our head. We spend so much time with the content inside our head that we think that everyone else must be tired of it too. So I started thinking like I gotta be original every single time. But that was a big epiphany for me, was like, wait a second, I spend so much more time with my content more than anyone else out there. I should stop thinking so far ahead and stop thinking that, oh, they're not going to want to listen to this again. Oh, they're not going to want to see this on Instagram because they already saw on YouTube, or already spoke about this on Facebook, so they're not going to want to check it out on my podcast. I think that's the wrong way to think about it nowadays. Nowadays, what I'm focused on is just getting active content creation. Whatever it ends up, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or on the podcast, that's where it ends up. And if I just spend enough time, first of all, if I stop wasting so much time deciding where it should go and spend all that time, spend all that energy, spend all that focus on just putting out content, create content, it's going to only grow the audience, only going to get my message more out there. And it's really just about the long term anyway. It's about how do I continually get into this mode of content creation so that it's easy for me to turn it on and get on Instagram Live, even though I didn't know what I was going to talk about 3 minutes ago, and be able to talk because I spent so much time not wasting it on trying to figure out if it should go on YouTube or if it should go out on Instagram or if it should go on the podcast, and instead get into content creation mode immediately, because it's not like you have a limited well of content to create. It's unlimited. And even if you tell one story one time, if you give one type of topic on an episode one time, doesn't mean you cannot cover it again, because you have different life experience, maybe you have different guests on, you have different, it's not as static, right? You're always constantly adding to your knowledge, which then, and your experience, which then spills out in the kind of content that you create, spills out in the kind of interview questions that you ask your guests. And don't think that you're limited in this. Well, you don't think you have a limited well of content. So just focus on the content creation. Don't think about so much where to put it. And if you are stuck on where to put it everywhere. Create a system where you're putting on YouTube, putting on Facebook, putting on Instagram, putting on the podcast, and repurpose your content. So I think that's going to magnify and stretch out the content that you have and get you to be in more places. This idea of being omnipresent is definitely valuable. That doesn't mean that create new content for each platform. Create it once and try to find ways to put it everywhere. Maybe it requires editing a little bit. If you put it on Instagram, maybe you don't want to put like an hour-long podcast on Instagram. Maybe an hour-long YouTube video needs to be chopped up for Facebook. But the point is to repurpose your content if you are stuck on this phase of where it should go. But I think the more important lesson is just to get in the mode of content creation. Don't focus so much on where it should go. Just put it out there and constantly keep on putting stuff out there. And that's the way that you get the growth that you need to grow your audience, grow your podcast. So hope that helps you out. If you're thinking about starting a podcast but you don't know where to go yet, make sure to check out my podcast from scratch masterclass. Right now, though, it's 100% free, but you have to sign up very, very soon. It's going to be a paid program, but right now it's 100% free. Just go to podcastingsecrets.co, register, watch the webinar. It'll take you literally from nothing. You even if you have no idea yet what kind of podcast to create, by the end of it, you have a podcast launched and ready to go. We even have an awesome bonus and kind of package for anyone that takes advantage of this right now, which, by the way, it's 100% free. As part of this package, if you watch the entire webinar, you get the master one-day checklist, which is going to give you exactly what we cover in the masterclass, but in one sheeter. So you just bang, 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 bang it out, and boom, by the end you have a podcast of your own. And then number two, you get access to another course of mine, which teaches you how to actually go from having a podcast to now how to get listeners, right? Putting a podcast out there is one step. On the very first step on the journey, the rest of it is growing the audience, and that's what the second course is about. But again, it's 100% free. All of it is free, but only for limited time. It's a podcast from scratch masterclass. Just go to podcastingsecrets.co, grab it before I start charging for it. Again, podcastingsecrets.co. Hopefully it helps you out. Again, create content. Don't focus on where it should go. That comes much, much later when you have a huge, content when you have a ton of content to work off of. Then maybe start worrying about that. But for now, it's all about creating the content. Hopefully it helps you out. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.